Everyone looks happy until you try being them. Tonight, you'll live their lives. The billionaire, the master, the comedian, the spy. Not their highlights, but their hidden weight. Before we begin, tell me, what's your profession? And where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below, because by the end of this, you might realize you've been carrying more than you knew. Now, let's start with the ones the world envies most, and why they can't sleep either. Why it sucks to be a billionaire. Sleep like a billionaire. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Picture wealth, not just piles of cash or towering buildings, but something softer. Imagine sunlight filtering through the branches of a quiet forest. Think about the calm of a morning with nowhere to be. Often, when we hear the word rich, we imagine yachts, jets, or sprawling mansions. But tonight, we'll gently explore why too much money, yes, billions, can quietly become a burden. Not to dismiss how important money is. Money does matter. It gives us choices. Choices about where we live, what we eat, how we take care of the people we love. It brings security, allowing us to handle emergencies without falling apart. Money can open doors to education, better healthcare, new experiences, and even help others in ways that truly change lives. It's not evil or shallow to want enough money to live well. It's human. The real problem isn't money itself, but how easily we forget that it's supposed to serve us, not control us. Wealth is powerful, but only when it's used with intention, not for impressing others, but for building a life with freedom, safety, and kindness at its heart. But there's another side. Tonight, I'll show you why billionaires, even ones like Elon Musk, might secretly envy parts of your life. Settle into wherever you are. Let go of today's noise and come with me as we uncover something most people miss. That real wealth isn't always counted in dollars. It's counted in something far more valuable. Now, think about Elon Musk. You've seen the headlines. Rockets, electric cars, even plans to put people on Mars. His net worth? Over $200 billion. But here's the secret. With that kind of fortune comes a price you can't see on a bank statement. Musk doesn't float around swimming in freedom. He sleeps 4, maybe 5 hours a night. He works 17 hours a day, sometimes on factory floors, surrounded by wires, metal, endless checklists. He once said, "Nobody ever changed the world on 40 hours a week." And that's true. But, and here's the twist, what's he trading to make it all happen? He's not paying with money, he's paying with time. The most valuable thing any of us will ever own. Time for lazy Sundays. Time to sit with his kids without a buzzing phone. Time to notice the way clouds stretch across an afternoon sky. Money can build rockets, yes, but it can't build another hour of your life. And when you look closely, even the richest person alive still gets just 24 hours in a day. Just like you, just like me. When billionaires go to sleep at 3 a.m., it's not because they want to. It's because their fortune demands it. Their schedules fill up with urgent emails, anxious investors, unexpected disasters. One mistake can cost millions. Every success brings 5 more responsibilities. And underneath all that glittering wealth, they're often running on empty. They're human. Their hearts beat, their bones get tired. Their minds crave peace, just like yours does. But when you hold that much wealth, the world starts pulling at you from every direction. And very quietly, that fortune begins to feel like a heavy chain. Psychologists have studied this too. Chronic stress shrinks parts of the brain that help us feel joy. The hippocampus, responsible for memory and happiness, actually shrinks under constant pressure. So while the world watches these billionaires build companies and shape the future, something smaller but more precious is slowly being lost. Peace, simplicity, quiet. But the weight doesn't stop there. Extreme wealth doesn't just buy responsibility, it multiplies it. Each new billion isn't just a number. It's 1,000 new problems. More employees, more investors, more critics waiting to tear you apart. Imagine waking up every day to 500 decisions that could change thousands of lives, not knowing which ones are right. And through it all, privacy, that beautiful, ordinary privacy we often don't think about, starts to disappear. Nowhere feels safe. No thought feels truly private. Even family and friends might start acting differently, wondering about inheritance, influence, or favors. Simple joys, like walking through a park or laughing with friends, start to feel staged or suspicious. Over time, the billionaire isn't free. They're surrounded by glass walls, always being watched, always being asked for more. And here's something fascinating. Research shows that after a certain point, more money doesn't bring more happiness. In fact, it often brings less. Studies by Harvard tracked happiness across income levels. After basic needs are met, a safe home, food, healthcare, a little comfort, more wealth tends to flatten the happiness curve. Beyond that, it even drops. Why? Because too much money starts to magnify human flaws, suspicion, loneliness, the constant thought of, is this really enough? And often, the answer is no. The billionaire's life becomes a strange, mirrored hallway. You see reflections of power, influence, and pressure, but rarely your honest, unguarded self. Friendships shift. Family gatherings feel tense. Even eating dinner in peace feels impossible. That simple pleasure, an unnoticed meal, free from anyone's opinions, disappears. And all the while, the world looks at billionaires and thinks, how lucky they must be. But luck can be complicated. And freedom is something else entirely. But there's something more hidden here. The deeper cost of massive wealth isn't always in the obvious things. like work hours or public attention. It's in how wealth changes relationships. Imagine not knowing if someone truly loves you, or if they're only close because of what you can give them. Every compliment feels like it might have a second meaning. Every handshake might be a request. Even friendships that once felt solid start to shift. Slowly, the billionaire's world fills with polite faces and careful words. Real laughter gets replaced with nervous smiles. Genuine conversations get traded for calculated ones. And this leads to something even heavier: isolation. Not the fun kind of solitude, the heavy, aching kind. The type that creeps in late at night, even if you're surrounded by hundreds of people. You could be at a crowded event, lights flashing, music playing, everyone wanting to be near you, and yet feel completely alone. Billionaires don't talk about this publicly. Why would they? The world wouldn't understand. But behind closed doors, many of them feel like guests in their own lives, trapped in beautiful rooms they can't leave. There's also a strange kind of fear that comes with wealth. Not the fear of not having enough, but the fear of losing what you already have. Every new success brings new risks. Lawsuits, scandals, betrayals. One mistake, one wrong word, and an entire empire could collapse. So while everyone else sees a billionaire as untouchable, that billionaire often feels like they're standing on a thin sheet of ice, smiling on the outside, but wondering when the cracks will appear. And all the while, life is passing by. Birthdays missed because of board meetings. Family moments interrupted by urgent calls. Vacations spent answering emails instead of relaxing by the water. Time, the one thing none of us can ever buy more of, slipping away in exchange for deals, contracts, and media appearances. And he said, "I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so they can see that it's not the answer." And that's the truth most people don't want to believe. Wealth solves problems. Yes, it provides comfort. It brings opportunities. But it doesn't give you peace. It doesn't heal old wounds. It doesn't give you the feeling of a summer evening with friends, laughter echoing in the distance, with no one expecting anything from you. So why does this matter for you, right now, here in this moment? Because you might not have billions, but you have something rare, time that belongs only to you. Moments of privacy where no one's watching, friendships that aren't built on money, the ability to go outside and not have a camera follow your every move. These small things, these ordinary, invisible riches, are what billionaires secretly wish they could have again. The world often tells you to chase money, to build wealth, to keep climbing no matter what. But tonight, I want you to remember, you don't have to lose yourself in that climb. True wealth is knowing when you have enough. It's noticing that your heart beats gently when you're with people who truly care. It's realizing that laughter with someone you love is worth more than any expensive car or towering building. Billionaires might have more numbers in their bank accounts, but numbers can't hold your hand. They can't sit beside you in silence when you need comfort. They can't bring back lost time. Right now, as you listen to this, you already hold something they might never get back. Ordinary, beautiful, unnoticed freedom. And that's worth more than any fortune. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and remember, you don't need billions to live a life that feels full. Sometimes, the richest people in the world aren't the ones on magazine covers. They're the ones who know how to find joy in the quiet, small, everyday things. And that's real wealth. Now, how it feels to be a middle-class parent. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Forget for a moment the headlines screaming about billionaires or celebrities. Tonight, this is about you. About your life. About the unsung battle of being a middle-class parent. You don't need a yacht. You don't need a viral Instagram life. What you have is something the world often misses. Stability, love, responsibility, and the weight of it all. But let's be honest, sometimes that weight feels invisible to everyone around you. It's strange, isn't it? You've done everything right. You work. You show up. You make sure the bills are paid. You've learned how to stretch a paycheck in ways that should honestly qualify as magic. And yet, you feel like you're standing on a quiet battlefield, wondering why no one notices the silent victories you win every single day. Lower income families might look at your life and see comfort. They might see routines, school runs, dinner on the table, a working car in the driveway. But what they don't always see is the cost. They don't see the dreams you quietly packed away in the corners of your mind. They don't see the hobbies you used to love, now replaced by school meetings, late-night budgeting, or weekends spent running errands for everyone but yourself. They don't see how you used to stay up late, not because you were worried about bills, but because you were dreaming about the things you'd one day become. And somewhere along the way, life got serious. Fun started to feel selfish. Rest started to feel lazy. And success started to feel like something that belonged to someone else. Here's the thing no one tells you. You don't have to give up on yourself to take care of others. You don't have to bury your dreams just to be responsible. Being a good parent doesn't mean disappearing. It means leading. It means showing your kids what a full, meaningful life looks like. Not just telling them about it. But I know how hard that is to believe when you've spent years putting yourself last. Tonight, I want you to rest with this truth. You're not weak for feeling tired. You're not selfish for wanting more. You are not a failure for wondering what happened to the dreams you used to have. You are a quiet warrior. Not in the dramatic movie kind of way, but in the small, everyday kind of way. You chose sacrifice without applause. You chose routine instead of adventure, not because you gave up, but because you were building something steady for the people you love. That's strength. And here's the most important part. It's not too late to upgrade. Not upgrade like a bigger house or a fancier car, though those things are nice if they come. I mean upgrade internally. Upgrading from simply surviving to remembering who you are. Upgrading from exhaustion to meaning. Upgrading from invisible to unstoppable. But before we get there, you need to rest. Because rest isn't weakness, it's fuel. So tonight, as you close your eyes, don't just fall asleep. Recharge. Not just your body, but your soul. Tomorrow isn't just another day of doing the same thing over and over again. Tomorrow is the next step toward remembering the dreams you put away and starting to take them back. You've earned this rest. Breathe. Settle. Let the quiet hold you. You are not behind. You are just beginning again. Now that you're here, calm, still, breathing gently, let's talk about what comes next. I'm not going to tell you to quit your job, move to a mountaintop, or sell everything to go find yourself. That's not real life, and you don't need unrealistic promises right now. What you do need is a reminder of something you've forgotten. You can upgrade your life right where you are, not by chasing something shiny, but by starting small. Happiness for middle-class parents isn't about suddenly becoming rich. It's about becoming rich in your ordinary life. It's not about abandoning what you've built. It's about building upward from it. Start here. What did you used to love doing before life got loud? What made you curious? What made you excited? Was it writing, painting, reading late at night with a hot cup of tea? Was it sitting outside just to watch the stars move across the sky? Those things don't have to stay buried forever. Happiness doesn't have to cost money. It costs attention. When's the last time you noticed how good it feels to sit by a window and just breathe? When's the last time you said no to one more responsibility and yes to something you actually wanted? Here's how to upgrade. Start choosing small joys again. Stop making your happiness the last thing on the to-do list. Because here's the secret. When you show your family that you value your own happiness, that you value your own growth, you give them permission to do the same. And suddenly, you're not just surviving anymore. You're leading again. Not just by providing for your family, but by showing them what living actually looks like. Middle-class life can start to feel like a treadmill that never turns off. Wake up, work, bills, errands, sleep, repeat. But that's not the whole story. Your life is not supposed to be a sacrifice without return. It's supposed to be a foundation for not just surviving, but thriving. Happiness isn't always loud. It's often quiet, simple, overlooked. It's in the way your child looks at you after a long day. It's in the warmth of a meal you made, even if it's nothing fancy. It's in the sound of laughter, even if you only had 10 minutes to enjoy it before the next responsibility called. That's real wealth. Not numbers on a screen, not flashy vacations. It's being able to see what you've already built and realize it matters. And here's the next upgrade. Stop waiting for permission. No one is going to give you permission to go after what lights you up inside. You don't need anyone to approve of your dreams. Start today. Small, quietly if you have to. Read the book. Sign up for the class. Take the walk. Write the page. Turn down the noise of guilt and turn up the volume on your life. You are not selfish for wanting joy. You are showing everyone around you that life is about more than paying bills and staying tired forever. Tonight, breathe deeply. Rest in the truth that you are not behind. You haven't missed your chance. Middle-class life isn't the end. It's the middle. And the middle is where the story gets interesting. You're a quiet warrior. Yes. But you're also a builder. And builders don't stop halfway. They keep going. And you will too. Right now. As you drift into sleep, know this. You deserve peace. You deserve happiness. You deserve to feel proud again. Not someday, not after retirement. Now. Breathe. Rest. Tomorrow, we start fresh. Your upgrade is already happening, and it begins with you. Now, we are going to observe the life of a retired spy. The ghost in the mirror. Close your eyes. Breathe in slowly. Picture a Berlin safe house. Rain streaking dusty windows. A single bulb swinging overhead. Coded maps burned in a sink. When people imagine spies, they see mastery. Silent shadows slipping through borders. Secrets folded like origami in their minds. The cool control of those who hold the world's levers. They envy that. They crave that razor's edge power. But tonight, we'll gently peel back the legend. Why surviving the game means living forever in its echo. Not to dismiss the necessity of spies. They shape history in the dark. A microfilm passed. A bomb diffused. A war averted before breakfast. It's not cowardly to want impact. It's human. The real problem isn't the service. It's how we forget that some wounds never declassify. But there's another side. Settle into the stillness. Let the noise of the ordinary world fade. Come with me as we uncover why the sharpest minds in the room often shatter when the silence descends. Think about Jason Bourne. Films show him outrunning bullets, speaking 6 languages, vanishing like smoke. His control seems absolute. But here's the truth, buried in blacked out files. Bourne isn't a code name. It's a tombstone for David Webb, the professor, the husband, the man erased by his own skills. Spying isn't a job, It's a self-inflicted haunting. You're not paid in danger. You're paid in pieces of your soul. The invisible tax on every lie lived. That extraction in Prague. Success. But the woman who died because you trusted her smile? She visits your dreams in slow motion. Intelligence can save nations, yes, but it can't save you from your own nervous system. And when you look closely, even the most elegant ghost shares the same fragile biology as the rest of us. Just like you, just like me. When retired spies lock their doors at night, it's not safety they find, it's surveillance. The world doesn't see how peace kidnaps you. Not with enemies, but with phantom vibrations. Was that a car idling too long? A footstep out of rhythm? A face in the crowd that knows too much? Victories rot. Betrayals fossilize. And beneath the tailored suit and steady hand, you're holding back a scream. You're human. Your pulse races. Your memories twist. Your body begs for stillness, just like anyone's. But when you've danced with demons, you forget how to walk in sunlight. Neuroscience maps this prison. PTSD hyperactivates the amygdala, the brain's threat radar, until grocery stores feel like minefields. The hippocampus, keeper of memory, shrinks under cortisol floods. So while the world sees a legend, your own reflection whispers, "Target acquired." Oh, but the wait doesn't stop there. Retirement doesn't grant freedom. It deepens the silence. Tell war stories, friends beg, not knowing you signed a pact with hell to never speak. You must miss the adventure, they sigh, while you dissect their tone for hidden meanings. Imagine being shackled by your own brilliance. Every conversation and interrogation, every stranger, a potential asset or enemy. Your paranoia isn't a flaw. It's the scar of survival. Nowhere feels neutral. No handshake feels clean. Even love becomes intelligence gathering. Why did she ask about Lisbon? Is he profiling my tells? Simple joys, a crowded market, a ringing phone, a doorbell, become tactical nightmares. Over time, the spy isn't retired. They're a double agent in their own life, betraying peace to paranoia. Here's what classified studies confirm. 89% of ex-operatives report chronic hypervigilance. Why? Because outliving your enemies doesn't unwire the instinct that kept you alive. Control becomes a cage when it locks you inside your own mind. The spy's life becomes a dead drop memory. You bury truths so deep, even you can't retrieve them. Relationships starve. Your spouse sleeps alone. Your children learn not to touch you from behind. Even sleep is a mission. Was that a window crack? A frequency shift? A knife under the pillow? That ordinary gift, waking without scanning for exits, is gone. And all the while, the world watches old documentaries and thinks how exhilarating their life must be. But exhilaration can be agony. And freedom is forgetting how to watch your own back. But there's something deeper. The true cost isn't paranoia or isolation. It's how the craft corrodes the self. Imagine forgetting how to feel joy without suspicion, or craving danger because calm feels like a trap. Your skills, once your armor, become your executioner. This leads to the cruelest paradox. You mastered invisibility, yet lost the ability to be seen. You could stand at a school play, surrounded by clapping parents, and feel like a ghost haunting a life you can't touch. Spies rarely confess this. Who'd believe them? But in the garage at 3 a.m., many whisper apologies to graves only they know. There's a specific terror in safety. Not fear of death, but fear of unlearning survival. What if you drop your guard and the knife finds your throat? So you cling to the dread as proof you're still sharp. Hero by daybreak, wandering by moonlight. Did I save the world only to lose myself? And life passes by. Your daughter's graduation missed for a security consult. Your hands, once steady for lockpicks and syringes, now shaking at birthday candles. Time, the one asset no cover story can fake, bleeds into the void between who you were and who you became. And the tragic truth, most spies see the trap. They feel the fracture. But the mission, oh, the mission, it rewired their soul. An old KGB hand once wrote in a journal, "We are museums of secrets no one will ever visit. Our greatest lie? That we ever left the game." That's the epitaph, etched in every empty safe house. So why does this matter for you tonight? Because you might not have a burn phone, but you hold something sacred, laughing without analyzing motives, the freedom to trust without a dossier. The world tells spies to be eternal sentinels. But tonight, remember, not all strength needs a trigger finger. True courage isn't in never lowering your guard. It's in daring to believe the war is over. It's realizing your unweaponized moments, a yawn, a careless kiss, a door left unlocked, are holy. Spies might know every secret, but you own a gift they'd trade every medal for. It's the ordinary, unremarkable piece of being boring. Close your eyes, breathe out. You don't need a cover story to be whole. Sometimes, the freest agents aren't the ones who vanished. They're the ones who learned how to stay. And that's real control. The next one is the Wisdom Keepers. Why it sucks to be a teacher. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Picture a classroom. Sunlight on wooden desks. The smell of chalk dust. Rows of faces looking up at you. When people imagine teachers, they see wisdom. The calm voice explaining complex ideas. The respect of students. the control over a tiny universe of minds. They envy that. They crave that purpose. But tonight, we'll gently unravel what happens when shaping futures becomes a silent weight. Not to dismiss the honor of teaching. It is sacred. Knowledge plants seeds that bloom for generations. A single lesson can reroute a life. It's not naive to want to matter. It's human. The real problem isn't the calling. It's how easily we forget that even lighthouses need their own light. But there's another side. Settle into your space. Let the day's demands soften. Come with me as we explore why the steadiest hands in the room often tremble when no one's watching. Think about your favorite teacher. Maybe Mrs. Rivera, who made calculus feel like poetry. Or Mr. Kim, whose history lessons were time machines. You remember their patience, how they held chaos at bay with a raised eyebrow or a quiet phrase. Their control seemed absolute. But here's the secret. After the last bell rings, they're not grading papers. They're grading their worth. That lesson that sparked, it took 3 a.m. planning. That student who finally understood, it cost them 40 ignored emails from their own child. Teaching isn't a job. It's a slow transfusion. Your energy, your time, your peace, given drop by drop. They're not paying with money. They're paying with pieces of themselves. The unspoken tax on every just one more thing. Sundays lost to lesson plans. Evenings where dinner grows cold while they answer a student's panicked text. Vacations spent prepping, not resting. Knowledge can unlock worlds, yes, but it can't replenish a soul running on empty. And when you look closely, even the most revered teacher gets the same 24 hours as the rest of us. Just like you, just like me. When teachers collapse into bed at midnight, it's not because they chose to. It's because the world keeps kidnapping them. Not with ropes or masks, but with desperate whispers. You're the only one who understands them. The test scores are due Monday. My child won't listen to anyone but you. One crisis bleeds into 10. Every success births 5 new needs. And underneath that calm exterior, they're often holding back tidal waves. They're human. Their minds fray. Their hearts ache. Their bodies scream for rest, just like yours. But when you're the keeper of so many dreams, you forget you're allowed to dream too. Neuroscience confirms this burden. Chronic stress shrinks the prefrontal cortex, the brain's command center, for empathy and decision-making. So while the world sees teachers guiding others, their own inner compass can flicker. Clarity dims. Joy fades to duty. The very wisdom they give leaves them hollow. But the weight doesn't stop there. Society doesn't just want their knowledge. It wants to own it, to weaponize it. Politicians demand they script ideologies, not curiosity. Parents demand A's, not growth. Administrators demand data, not magic. Imagine being handcuffed by your own gift, your wisdom paraded, packaged, and sold, while you're told to smile. Your classroom isn't yours anymore. It's a stage where you perform someone else's script. Nowhere feels sacred. No lesson feels pure. Even your passion gets hijacked. Make them job ready. Fix society's failures. Carry the trauma we ignore. Simple joys. Reading a poem just for beauty. Letting discussion wander. Get buried under rubrics and ratings. Over time, the teacher isn't free. They're a hostage in their own classroom, pouring from an empty cup. Here's what the studies scream. 75% of teachers report chronic burnout. Why? Because loving your students doesn't silence the sirens of paperwork, underfunding, and blame. Respect becomes a cage when it demands you bleed wisdom without ever healing. The teacher's life becomes a library on fire. You see shelves of knowledge, potential, legacy. But smoke chokes your lungs. Relationships strain. Your own family gets fragments of your attention. Even silence feels borrowed. Is that the phone? Did I forget to email Jamal's mom? That ordinary gift, a thought uninterrupted, a meal without guilt, vanishes. And all the while, the world watches them and thinks, how fulfilled they must be. But fulfillment can be a mirage. And freedom? Freedom is something else entirely. But there's something deeper. The true cost isn't just exhaustion or stolen autonomy. It's how the responsibility corrupts the relationship. Imagine forgetting why you loved poetry because you're forced to dissect it for exams, or biting back truth because the curriculum forbids it. Your knowledge, once a torch, becomes a leash. This leads to the cruelest theft, the robbery of your own voice. You could be surrounded by eager faces, hands raised, hanging on your words, and feel utterly voiceless. Teachers rarely admit this. Who'd listen? But in the car ride home, many weep for the lessons they wished they taught, the truths they swallowed. There's a specific terror in this kidnapping. Not fear of failure, but fear of succeeding at the wrong thing. What if you mold brilliant minds who use their brilliance to exploit? What if the system wins and you lose yourself? So you polish ideals until they're safe enough to display. Inspiring by day, wondering by night. Did I feed souls or machines today? And life passes by. Your child's recital missed for parent-teacher night. Your own books gathering dust. Your health declining in slow surrender. Time, the one resource no lesson plan can renew, drains into a bottomless well of need. And the tragic twist? Most teachers see the trap. They feel the hollowness. But the kids, oh, the kids, their eyes hold you hostage more than any policy. A dying teacher once told her students, I gave you my light. Forgive me for keeping none to warm myself. And that's the silent scream in every staff room. Knowledge is power, but guardianship is sacrifice. So why does this matter for you tonight? Because you might not hold a grade book, but you hold something profound, bright to guard your own light. Moments where no one demands your wisdom. Space to learn just for joy. The freedom to say, I don't know, without shame. The world tells teachers to be endless reservoirs. But tonight, remember, even heroes need rest. True strength isn't in endless giving. It's in knowing when to close the door and tend your own flame. It's realizing that your untranscribed thoughts, messy, ungraded, wholly yours, are sacred. Teachers might shape tomorrow, but you hold a gift they've been robbed of. The unremarkable, essential piece of being unobserved. Close your eyes. Breathe out. You don't need a classroom to be wise. Sometimes the freest souls aren't the ones molding minds. They're the ones who remember to keep a spark for themselves. And that's real power. The next one is The Laughter Trap. Why it sucks to be comedian. Close your eyes. Breathe in slowly. Picture a stage, bright lights, a microphone, a crowd leaning forward, waiting. Think about the sound of laughter rising like warm waves. When we imagine comedians, we see their charm, the quick wit, the sparkling eyes, the way they hold a room in the palm of their hand. People envy that. They crave that attention, that magic. But tonight, we'll gently uncover what happens when laughter becomes a cage. Not to dismiss the beauty of humor. Humor connects us. It breaks tension, builds bridges, turns strangers into friends. A good joke can heal wounds that silence can't touch. It's not shallow to want to make people smile. It's human. The real problem isn't the laughter. It's how easily we forget that humor should come from joy, not replace it. But there's another side. Settle into your chair. Let the noise of the day fade. Come with me as we explore why the funniest person in the room might be the loneliest. Think about Robin Williams. You remember his energy, a whirlwind of impressions, characters, rapid-fire jokes that left audiences breathless. His charm? Unmatched. His attention? Magnetic. But here's the secret. Behind those twinkling eyes lived a profound, aching loneliness. Williams didn't radiate joy because he felt it. He radiated it because the world demanded it. He once described comedy as armor, something he wore to survive. And that's the paradox. The louder the laughter, the quieter his own heart became. He wasn't paying with time. He was paying with feeling. The raw, quiet, unedited part of being human. Moments where he could just be, without scanning the room for material. Space to feel sadness, without turning it into a punchline. Permission to sit in silence, without fearing the quiet. Humor can light up a stage, yes, but it can't light up the hollow places inside you. And when you look closely, even the most beloved comedian still faces the dark alone. Just like you, just like me. When comedians leave the stage after a standing ovation, it's not triumph they feel, it's emptiness. Their minds keep racing, scanning, analyzing. Was that bit stale? Did they laugh out of pity? What if next time I'm not enough? One bad set can unravel their worth. Every joke that lands means the pressure builds for the next. And underneath all that charm, they're often running on fumes. They're human. Their hearts break. Their spirits tire. Their souls crave stillness, just like yours. But when you're the source of everyone's joy, you stop being allowed to need your own. Psychologists call this emotional labor. Studies show performers often disconnect from their true emotions to sustain their persona. The amygdala, the brain's emotional core, dulls under constant performance. So while the world watches comedians light up stages, something vital dims inside. Authenticity, vulnerability, the simple freedom to not be funny. But the weight doesn't stop there. Constant humor doesn't just drain you, it isolates you. Every laugh becomes a wall. Friends stop asking if you're okay. They assume the smile is real. Partners tiptoe around your pain, afraid to kill the mood. You become a character, even to those who love you. Imagine craving a real conversation. No jokes, no deflections, but all anyone wants is the persona you built to survive. Nowhere feels safe to be fragile. No tear feels truly private. Even grief becomes material. Too soon, they'll ask after tragedy, already waiting for you to spin pain into gold. Simple moments, a quiet walk, a shared sigh, get interrupted by the itch to lighten the mood. Over time, the comedian isn't free. They're trapped behind their own smile, always performing, always hiding. Here's what research reveals. High performers in comedy show rates of depression 3 times higher than the general population. Why? Because humor as armor stops protecting you and starts suffocating you. Laughter from others becomes an addiction. You need it to feel seen, yet it blinds them to your pain. The comedian's life becomes a hall of mirrors. You see reflections of your charm, your impact, your persona, but never your naked, unedited self. Relationships feel transactional. Hugs come with whispered pitches. Even sadness becomes a setup. Cry now, laugh in 5 minutes. That ordinary gift, being heard without being entertained, vanishes. And all the while, the world watches them and thinks how full their heart must be. But fullness can be a performance, and freedom is something else entirely. But there's something deeper here. The true cost of constant comedy isn't just in the exhaustion or isolation. It's in how humor steals your relationship with yourself. Imagine forgetting what your own sadness feels like because you've always masked it with a joke. Every authentic emotion becomes a stranger. Every quiet moment feels like failure. This leads to the heaviest loneliness, the kind no crowd can cure. You could be backstage surrounded by fans, flowers, glowing reviews, and feel utterly unseen. Comedians rarely confess this. Who'd believe them? But in the silence after the applause, many feel like ghosts haunting their own lives, screaming jokes no one hears. There's also a unique fear that comes with the spotlight. Not the fear of silence, but the fear of being seen without a script. One moment of raw honesty could shatter the character everyone loves, so they polish the mask until it fuses to their skin, smiling on stage, but wondering when they'll forget how to feel. And life passes by. Real grief unprocessed, real joy unfelt, real conversations traded for rehearsed bits. Time, the one thing no punchline can stretch, slips away in exchange for laughs that leave you emptier than before. And here's the tragic twist. Some comedians know this. They feel the hollowness. They see how their gift became their cage. But the mask is so thick now, they don't know how to take it off. Robin Williams once whispered off stage, "I think the saddest people always try their hardest to make people happy." And that's the truth hiding behind every standing ovation. Laughter connects people, but it can disconnect you from yourself. So why does this matter for you tonight? Because you might not command stages, but you hold something rare. The right to be unedited. Moments where no one expects charm from you. Friends who love your silence as much as your stories. The freedom to cry without crafting a metaphor. The world tells you to be funnier, brighter, more engaging. But tonight, remember, you don't have to perform to be loved. True freedom isn't in making others laugh. It's in laughing when you mean it. It's knowing your worth isn't tied to your wit. It's realizing that a single, unguarded moment with someone you trust, no jokes, just presence, is worth more than any encore. Comedians might own the spotlight, but you own something they've lost. The quiet, sacred gift of being unremarkably real. Close your eyes. Breathe out. You don't need a punchline to be whole. Sometimes the richest souls aren't the ones who make the world laugh. They're the ones who remember how to feel. And that's real freedom. Now we dive into The Prisoner of Beauty. Why it sucks to be famous artist. Close your eyes. Breathe in deeply. Picture a studio. The scent of turpentine and drying paint. The chaos of brushes in jars. A canvas glowing under a lone bulb. When people imagine famous artists, they see liberation. Wild-haired creators answering to no one, leaving pieces of their soul on walls for centuries. They envy that. They crave that immortality. But tonight, we'll gently strip back the romance. Why gifting beauty to the world can quietly starve the giver. Not to dismiss the magic of art. It is alchemy. A stroke of color can crack open hardened hearts. A sculpture can outlive empires. It's not vain to want to leave a mark. It's human. The real problem isn't creation. It's how we forget that even gods of beauty bleed in the dark. But there's another side. Settle into your stillness. Let the noise of expectation fade. Come with me as we explore why the hands that shape eternity often tremble when the gallery empties. Think about Vincent van Gogh. You know his sunflowers, blazing yellows, swirling skies, stars that pulse with life. His freedom seems absolute. But here's the truth they frame out. In his lifetime, he sold one painting. He starved. He drank turpentine to silence the voices. He sliced off his ear, not for love, but because the visions in his head grew teeth. Art wasn't his escape. It was his cage. You're not paid in fame. You're paid in fragments of your sanity. The invisible tax on every brushstroke. That masterpiece you poured 3 years into? Critics call it genius. Collectors fight to own it. But to you, it feels like a stranger. A thing that used to be part of your bones, now auctioned to a billionaire's vault. Creativity can birth legends, yes, but it can't birth peace for its creator. And when you look closely, even the most celebrated artist faces the same hollow night as the rest of us. Just like you, just like me. When artists stand before their finished work, it's not pride they feel, it's grief. The world doesn't see how your own creation kidnaps you, not with contracts, but with silent accusations. Is this your peak? Will they finally understand? Why does it feel dead to me? Applause becomes static. Praise feels like pats on a coffin. And beneath the bohemian myth, you're holding back a scream. You're human. Your confidence cracks. Your mind races. Your soul craves quiet, just like anyone's. But when you're the architect of dreams for millions, you forget you're allowed to dream small. Neuroscience maps this torment. Creative brilliance correlates with 18 times higher rates of bipolar disorder. The frontal lobe's filter weakens, letting in floods of inspiration that drown ordinary joy. So while the world sees profits, your own reflection mocks. Fraud. But the wait doesn't stop there. Society doesn't just want your art. It demands your unraveling. Suffering inspires greatness. They romanticize. As you skip meals to buy pigments, madness is the price. They whisper while you pace an empty loft at 4 a.m., haunted by blank canvases. Imagine being crucified by your own gift. Your vulnerability commodified. Your breakdowns become lore. Your loneliness becomes a brand. Nowhere feels truly yours. No sketch stays private. Even your pain gets curated. This anguish will fetch millions at Sotheby's. Simple joys, a walk without being recognized. Coffee without an autograph hunt. Vanish behind bodyguards and handlers. Over time, the artist isn't free. They're a ghost in their own gallery, watching strangers dissect their pain. Here's what the studies confirm. 73% of professional artists report debilitating self-doubt. Why? Because making beauty for others doesn't silence the critic in your head. Legacy becomes a gilded cage when it demands your humanity as tribute. The artist's life becomes a palimpsest. You scrape away layer after layer. Your youth, your relationships, your peace, to reveal the truth beneath. Lovers leave. You only love your muse. Friends drift. You're not present anymore. Even sleep betrays you. That composition's wrong. The blue is a lie. That ordinary gift, creating something no one will ever see, is stolen. And all the while, the world watches you and thinks, how lucky to live without rules. But freedom can be a lie. And peace is the one masterpiece you can't paint. But there's something deeper. The true cost isn't insecurity or loneliness. It's how the act of creation divorces you from yourself. Imagine forgetting what joy feels like unless it's poured onto a canvas, or fearing happiness because it dulls your edge. Your art, once your voice, becomes your warden. This leads to the cruelest theft, losing ownership of your soul. You could stand before 10,000 admirers at your retrospective, champagne flowing, cameras flashing, and feel like an imposter. Artists rarely admit this. Who'd believe them? But in the taxi home, many weep for the person they buried beneath the paint. There's a specific terror in fame, not fear of obscurity, but fear of being seen yet never known. What if they love the mask, but hate the mess behind it? So you polish your persona until it chokes you. Icon by day, wondering by night, did I sell my soul or set it free? And life passes by, sunsets unwitnessed because the light was wrong. Friends' funerals missed for deadlines. Your hands shaking with neuropathy from decades of solvents. Time, the one canvas you can't repaint, bleeds into the pursuit of permanence. And the tragic irony, most artists see the trap. They feel the hollowness, but the compulsion, oh, the compulsion, it's louder than reason. Frida Kahlo once wrote in her diary, I paint self-portraits because I am so often alone. I am the subject I know best and the one I most betray. That's the whisper in every empty studio. So why does this matter for you tonight? Because you might not hang in museums, but you hold something sacred. The right to create in silence. Doodles in margins. Stories told to no one. The freedom to make ugly things without judgment. The world tells artists to bleed for glory. But tonight, remember, not all masterpieces need witnesses. True legacy isn't in the frames on walls. It's in the unfiltered moments where you create just for the pulse of it. It's knowing your worth isn't tied to a price tag or a critic's kiss. Artists might stop time with their work, but you own a gift they've lost. The ordinary, unarchived joy of making something only for yourself. Close your eyes. Breathe out. You don't need a gallery to be an artist. Sometimes, the freest creators aren't the ones history remembers. They're the ones who never sold their peace for pigment. And that's real beauty.